Welcome to Women Under the Sun on the Business RadioX network, where you'll meet extraordinary women with incredible stories in both life and business. And now, Kim Adair and Mark Bishop. And welcome to another wonderful WUTS podcast, where we feature special guests from all over the globe that have done something unusual with their lives and careers and have become leaders and motivators in their own right. Firstly, my partner in crime, Kim Adair. Welcome, Kim.
Good afternoon, Mark. It's good to be back with you again.
Susan Bennet was born in Burlington, Vermont, and attended high school at Clinton Central School in Clinton, New York. In 1967, she enrolled in the Pembroke College and graduated in 1971 from the Brown University after the two schools merged. And while in college, Susan concentrated her studies in the classics and had intended to become a teacher, but acted in sock and buckskin theatrical productions, was a member of a jazz band, and was a singer with the Chattahoochee a cappella group. Boy, what a busy lady. The thing is, who the heck is Susan Bennet?
Well, we want you to meet Susan Bennet, the speaker every iPhone owner will be raving about before and after your event. She's the original voice of Siri and the most famous voice in the world. We've heard of speakers that are good, but spectacular aligns with your brand. By the way, you can book Susan Bennet to speak, and your attendees will be counting down the days leading up to your event. That's a strong testimonial from Catherine Marsh, Susan.
I'm here.
Thought you'd enjoy that.
Well, it's lovely to have you on the show, Susan Bennet. Voice.
Well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, a long introduction, I know, but we really wanted to establish a little bit there. Susan Bennet.
Okay.
By the way, Bennet, interesting name. My grandparents were Bennets. And they came from Manchester, England, way back when it was 10 quid boat. 10 quid on the boat it was to get to Australia. And that was the fee way back then. I think it was late 30s, whenever, or early 40s. And so there you go. They came out of Manchester, Bennets. Now, Susan Bennet, though, voice and vocals, is a sole proprietor operation, right?
Uh-huh. Yep, it's me. Actually, it's three. Me, myself, and I.
The three of you actually do it all, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. So your full-time career is a freelance voice actor, speaker, singer, and keyboard player?
That's it, yes.
Wow.
And as a popular voiceover artist and singer, you've appeared on hundreds of radio, TV commercials. Clients like, the list.
Yes, because I've been doing this for many, many, many years. We won't go into the exact number.
No, I'll just mention a couple, though.
Yes,
McDonald's and Macy's and Goodyear and Papa John's and Fisher-Price.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean, is that what you really wanted to do in the beginning, to be a voiceover artist and ad marketer?
No, actually. I fell into it accidentally. I've been a singer since I was in high school, and when I moved to Atlanta, I started to sing out in clubs and restaurants, and I also started to sing jingles at a lot of different recording studios in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And one recording studio, Doppler, which was fabulous and around for close to 50 years, but it's no longer here, they used to hire me all the time. And so this one particular day, we had been singing a group jingle for a particular client, and the voice actor didn't show up to read the copy for the spot.
Mm-hmm.
So the studio owner said, "Susan, you don't have an accent. Come over here and read this." And I did it very, easily. And I thought, I can do this. This is something I need to look into. So I got a voice coach and then a talent agent, and I've been doing voiceovers ever since.
Just like a movie, isn't it? It's always that incredible something unique to start it all, something that happened out of the blue. Are you still the voice of Delta Airlines Gates Worldwide, as well as, numerous GPS and phone systems?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're still doing all of that as well? Okay.
Well, I'm not still doing them. They're there.
That's right.
I have done them, and they keep using the voice, so I guess they like it.
Yeah, well, I guess you're there, right.
Well, next time I go to the airport, because I want to get out and fly around, I actually am a former flight attendant, so I'm going to pay attention to your voice. I'm going to go hang out over there at Delta Airlines.
Well, they have more than one, so I'm the one at the gate. I'm the voice at the gate.
Right.
So.
Excellent. Well, I'll be looking for you there next time I fly.
Okay.
So you've done your share of nationally televised programs, including the Mariah Carey Merriest Christmas Special, the Queen Latifah Show, CNN, Showbiz Tonight, the Jack and Triumph Show, the new To Tell the Truth, and you read for David Letterman, the top 10 list for David Letterman. Oh, I love him. I love him.
So that's the voice. Now, when I think about that, I do recognize that. Yes, I did do that. Which of all of those really turned you on at all, Susan? Which was your favorite, if anything?
My favorite?
Yeah. Favorite appearance?
That's really hard to say. I mean, I enjoy them all, and it was fun to meet Queen Latifah. I think she's great.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's really hard to choose one particular thing. They were all very different but fun experiences.
What a lot of people don't know is that basically you're a musician. I mean, the voice work, speaking, and acting all came later, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You were playing piano.
I've been playing the piano since I was 4.
And you were playing that by ear, is that correct?
Uh-huh, that's right.
That's pretty good. But you took classical piano lessons for many years and ended up singing in your first band, which was called Conglomerate. Tell us about that.
Correct. Well, I was singing in musical productions as well. I was in, I think, Oklahoma and Carousel. And I also happened to meet a fellow musician who wanted to start a band. And so I was the singer in this little jazz band, and we played, I think it was 6 nights a week in the summer in Newport, Rhode Island. And, so that was my introduction to being a paid musician. And it was really fun, and the guys were terrific. And, in fact, we're just at this point we found some old tapes of Conglomerate, and we're putting them on, getting them digitized, shall we say.
Right.
And just a little stroll down memory lane there.
Very fun.
And, after that, I moved to Atlanta, and I ended up doing a lot of singing in, clubs and restaurants, and ultimately I started working with some other musicians, and we had a band together called, first of all, it was called Gibson Bennett Band, and then it was called Interactive. And we had that band for almost 25 years. So yeah, which we'll get onto that later, because I think your old man plays in it too, doesn't he? He does.
Yeah. We're going to look at that, because I find it fascinating. You can work with your hubby for 25 years, but maybe because it's, you're growing popularity. Yeah, well, that's good. You're growing popularity as a public speaker, though, accidentally famous, shall we say. It's really has taken you all over the U.S., as well as international destinations, Croatia, of all places, Australia. What took you to those places, may I ask?
Well, there was a big conference, a European conference in Croatia, and we were in one of the probably most popular resort towns in Europe right now, Rovinja, Croatia. And it was an amazing, just tiny little town right across the ocean from Venice, Italy, and it's actually much of this little town looked very Italian to me. So the people were wonderful, and it was a pretty big conference. And actually, some of the promo material on my website with me in the red jacket that was filmed in Croatia. So it was a wonderful experience. And then we went to Sydney, Australia a year ago, just about right now, as a matter of fact. And that was just wonderful. The only bad thing about it is that we didn't get to stay as long as we would have liked and see other parts of the country. But it was a wonderful trip.
Well, I'm glad you liked it. But as usual, most Americans I have ever spoken to over 17 odd years now I've lived in the States usually only get to do Sydney unless they've got more time. It's a big country.
Right.
It is a big country. There's a lot to see and a lot to do. But of course, Sydney's got the harbour, and it's a beautiful harbour, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Yeah, Yeah, we had a great time. We walked and walked and walked all over Sydney. Now, I had been to, that was my second time in Australia because I sang backup vocals for Roy Orbison.
Yeah, we got that down with Burt Bacharach as well. Unbelievable.
Yep.
So I'm glad you liked it.
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
Very
in
good.
Coolangatta. And that was our stomping ground, and then we took buses and visited other cities and towns and played there.
Were you appearing at the RSL clubs, were you?
Oh, this has been like 40 years ago. I don't remember.
Yeah, it might have been, but Coolangatta, it's a popular spot up the East Coast.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Lovely. Yeah. Oh, well, so your overall thoughts of Australia are on the positive and would recommend it to anyone?
Oh, very, very positive, very positive. People are very friendly, very down to earth. Yeah, we enjoyed it.
Well, you can tell Mark is from there, of course. Well, you have done hundreds of commercial jingles. Famously, Tilly, the all-time teller for the first successful ATM in the U.S. And then you've talked about touring with Burt Bacharach. I'm so jealous, and Roy Orbison. That must have been a wonderful experience for you. Tell us how you felt about that. Tell us first about Tilly, getting your jingle with Tilly, and then I'd love to talk to you about what was it like to spend time with Burt and Roy.
Yeah. Well, the jingle thing, it didn't seem to be that big a deal at the time because it was just, we sang jingles for all kinds of products. And I guess the thing that was significant about this particular jingle is that it was in the late 70s, and they were trying to introduce ATMs in banks all over the country, and nobody wanted anything to do with them because this was long before personal computers or smartphones or anything like that. And people just did not trust getting their money or putting checks into a machine. And so they just weren't using the machines. And so a very clever group of guys at McDonald and Little advertising agency in Atlanta decided, well, we need to humanize the machine. So they put a little Swiss Miss type of face on the ATM and called her Tilly the All-Time Teller. Cute. And then I sang the jingle for it, and it became the first, successful ATM in the country.
I had to listen to it on your website. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to check out her website. It's a very nice site. It's got a lot of interesting stuff on it, and I love that jingle. You want to do it for us, or is it asking too much?
I'm Tilly, the all-time teller. I work for First National Bank.
So
lovely.
Although 40 years ago, I think it was a lot higher than that.
So there we go. Good old Tilly. But it was to think of where we've come since those days.
Yes.
One teller putting money into a machine. Yeah, I'm never going to get it out again. I can see that.
Right. Well, Hazel, share a little bit about traveling as a backup singer. You got some good guys that you were working with. How were they? I mean, were they easy to work for?
They were great. We didn't see too much of Roy. Roy was kind of a recluse. He used to like to stay in his room and read books. But Burt was, when I first met Burt, it was hilarious. We started our tour in Atlanta at a really wonderful park, Chastain Park, and it was an outdoor amphitheater. And so he was staying in the hotel closest to Chastain, which happened to be a Holiday Inn of all things. So, of course, he had the penthouse. So there were two other singers from Atlanta, and so the three of us met Burt and a couple of other singers that he brought with him from L.A., and we're rehearsing with him up in his penthouse, and I'm just looking at this guy going, oh, my God, I don't believe this. And so he's playing the piano, or we're working out parts, and he turns to me and he says, Susan, what do you think about this?
Wow.
And I kind of looked around to my right and left and said, is he actually asking me?
Wow.
So he was great. It was that was during the time that he was married to Carol Bayer Sager, so she was on the ticket too. And we traveled all over the South, and it was just a wonderful experience. As far as Roy, we went all over the world. We went to the British Isles. We went to Australia. We went all over the United States. And, even this was during a time before the Traveling Wilburys and after his huge success in the 60s. And so he would still draw people, and people just loved his music. It was really amazing. So it was fun to be a part of that band because it was it was all so positive.
Wow, I have some friends that have done backup, but those are some big names, and like I had as a little girl, I had such a crush on Burt Bacharach, but that's something you've done a lot. So going back to how did you get into voiceover work in the first place?
Well, that was the Doppler Studios
I mentioned
scenario
that I
she talked
had
about.
sung a jingle, and the voice actor didn't show up. And so the studio owner said, well, Susan, you don't have an accent, so come over here and read this copy. And as soon as I did that, I realized that it was something I could do, so I got a coach.
Right.
And then just ultimately, I got a talent agent and went up for auditions and that sort of thing, and it just sort of clicked.
So the music continued with the interactive band. That's a private event band. This is where your husband, that's the guitar player, Rick Hinkle, right?
Right.
And you've been playing together for 25 years. Okay, so what's the secret? I mean, a lot of people would like to know when it comes to Susan working with your hubby for 25 years. How do you do it?
We weren't married during that entire time, but we just get along. He really, really makes me laugh. I think that's the key to a marriage.
Yeah, there you go.
Laughter. And laughing at and with each other. And we just get along, and we love to play music together. He plays guitar. He also plays excellent bass and plays some drums, plays piano. He's also an audio engineer, so he's a talented guy.
Very diverse, isn't it?
We just, our voices are very, very different, but somehow they blend well together, and so we always enjoy playing together. We basically have the same taste in music, so it all just works out pretty well.
So are you doing a lot of that now? I mean, everything's kind of shut down. Are you guys still out there?
No, we're not doing a lot of anything right now. Rick has done a few, he's a freelance musician, and since we kind of dismantled our band about, when was that? It's been at least 10 years. And we'd done it for 25 years. We decided that was enough because the events were changing. They were looking for different things from bands, and our band always had musicians behind their instruments, and now it was becoming a popular thing to have bands with front singers and then a big, huge band, backing them up. And so that wasn't really our thing, so we decided, well, we'll just go and, do some intermittent things here and there. And so consequently, he is doing all kinds of freelance jobs, but we're both trying to be very, very careful because we're considered older people at this point, and we just don't want to jeopardize ourselves. And so I think Rick has done maybe about 3 gigs since the COVID hit, and that's, just he won't do anything unless it's, outside and socially distanced and people wearing masks and everything.
Yeah, so it's a very difficult time. You go back, though, there's 2 bands, right?
Trying to call me.
two bands, that's a switch, isn't it? 2 bands, Boomers Gone Wild, right, which features rock and roll, rock and soul music from the 60s and 70s. Yep. And then, of course, the Canyon Ladies, featuring the music of 60s singers-songwriters, Laurel Canyon and so on. Joni Mitchell?
Yep, Joni Mitchell.
Yes, and the
Bonnie Raitt, Carole King.
Linda Ronstadt, our famous Tucsonan.
Linda Ronstadt, of course. Yeah. And it's really fun because there are 3 female vocalists, and then my husband on guitar, and a good friend of ours, John Lewis, on drums.
All right.
And it's really fun, but we were really getting cranked up for this year, and then we had a big gig set for, I think it was February 29th, March 29th, and that got canceled because of COVID, and that was, so we haven't even been able to rehearse this whole year, so hopefully we can start over anew in 2021, but I don't know. People aren't being as careful as they need to be, and so
yeah, I know. And this year has
been a long time before this thing.
Well,
goes away.
How do you get on? With a year like this in the world of entertainment and rehearsals and practice, and I mean, did you guys do anything with Zoom this year or any other platform? Do you not bother? Is it easy or too hard to do?
Well, we just felt it was kind of hard to do, and it's just there's just not the same feeling as doing it on video as it is just being together live. So we're just putting it off until we can get together and rehearse. And Rick and I still play music at home, and we've actually been creating a Canyon Ladies album. And
Oh, neat.
Rick and I have done most, because I play keyboard and keyboard bass, and he plays guitar and all kinds of other things. So we have, put the basic. That's the nice thing about technology. We can put the basic things down, and he could put digitized drums on the songs, and then send the file to our drummer, and then he could open up the file, put real drums on there, and send it back. And it's incredible. So during this whole COVID thing, we've been building this very nice little album. And then a couple of times we've had two of the other singers come in individually with masks and socially distanced, and to sing on a few songs. So, it's not, we can't get out and play, which we really do miss. It's especially our Boomers gig, because we have a real following at this little club up in a little old gold mining town of Georgia called Dahlonega, Georgia. And we've been playing at this little club, the Crimson Moon, for, I guess it's it would have been 6 years this year. But, it's a small club, so there's really no way that we're going to go up there and play.
Well, I was going to ask you.
No way to social distance.
Yeah, right. Other than that particular club, we were going to ask you, where do you perform? I mean, do you have to, if things were normal and there was no COVID and the things you've planned for this year, as an example, do you have to travel far for your gigs?
No, Atlanta's a big town. I mean, Atlanta's 6.5 million people, and we have a bunch of different venues, Variety Playhouse, Eddie's Attic, and there are a lot of little venues all over the city where we can play. And a lot of times they're just, individual performances in a park or something like that. And so there are a lot of different places to choose from.
Well, I guess it would be, yeah. I mean, Atlanta in its own right. I just want to go back a little bit. I want to talk about Brown University, because you're so talented, you're so diverse. You started young, keyboard, playing the piano by ear. Was your family a musical family? Where do you think you got your gifts from?
I have no idea. My dad liked big band music, but actually we didn't have any music in the house. They weren't big on the radio or anything like that. They even had their own stereo or record players or anything like that. So it was very unusual. And I don't know how they knew. I guess I showed my musical talent very young in life, because they made sure that I had musical instruments. I had this little set of bells, and I had a little piano. And when I was four or five, I first started picking out melodies on this little toy piano. And my next door neighbor heard me, and he called my folks and said, "I think you have a musical child here.
Wow.
I am moving, and I want to give her my upright piano." And he gave me Mr. Chegner. Thank you, Mr. Chegner. You were the reason it all started. And he gave me his upright piano, which I took lessons on for many, many years.
Wow.
See, it was all meant to be. How about that? And my question regarding Brown Uni, did you enjoy your days there?
I did, but I would have to say I had kind of ambivalent feelings. Providence is not the cheeriest city in the world. In fact, it can be pretty depressing. It's gray a lot of the year, and I think at first I was a little worried that I wasn't going to be able to keep up. It's a pretty stellar school,
stringent, yeah.
But I discovered that I could just, choose courses that I thought I could potentially do well in, and that worked out very well. I had a lot of fun singing in the Chatter Talks, the a cappella group. It wasn't completely a cappella. We had a guitar or two as an accompaniment, but it was, harmony singing, and that was a lot of fun. And I was in some musicals and plays, and yeah, it was a very positive experience.
There you go.
Wow. Well, really, you have done just about it all, Susan. Is there something professionally you would like to do that you haven't done yet? Hasn't appeared on your radar?
Well, I don't think so as far as what I think I'm capable of doing, but I really love doing the speaker events, and fortunately I'm starting to get some virtual events now that we're not sure how long this COVID thing is going to be. But I really, really love singing harmony, and so I love backup singing. So, but that's not in the cards right now until things calm down.
Sure, sure. Tell me more about your speaking world. What do you talk about? Obviously, now I'm interested how you shape it all up and how you'd prepare it. You're invited to, and for starters, where do you speak? Are you on a tour? Are you on a circuit?
Well, I'm on a website, and I have a wonderful agent, Wes Stevens at Vox in Los Angeles. He and his partner, Tom Lawless, have done very well by me as far as the Siri situation. I've done a lot of really cool jobs because of them, and they sort of branched out. Their company is mostly a voiceover company, and so they sort of branched out to help me book speaker events. But so I'm very grateful for that. And the thing is that for me, I like to do. I wouldn't want to speak like several times a week or anything like that. I enjoy just working maybe once a month or something like that is perfect for me, because I like to customize all my presentations, even though the basic structure of each one is the same. That was an interesting prospect for me. Something I had never done before was to actually write my own presentation and try to come up with some little anecdotes and hopefully humorous things to entertain.
We were Kim and I were sort of talking about it and saying it must be, your background is Siri, plus your music now and going to interview you, one has done a lot more research than one would have done normally. So to be a speaker, I guess you talk about your past a lot. Your successes.
Well, no, I'll tell you exactly what I speak about. I do the first. It's basically in three parts, and the first part is about who is Siri, where did she come from, and Apple did not create Siri, and that's interesting to people. And so I tell the stories about how she came about, how the recordings were done, and those of us who provided the voice for Siri didn't know we were doing that when we were doing these recordings, because the recordings were done, in the first decade of the 2000s.
Right.
I did mine starting in 2005. And at the time, we were all told we were just sort of doing some generic phone voicing. And so when, 6 years later, suddenly I'm Siri, that was a surprise. So I talk about that experience, and then I do talk quite a bit about the voiceover business, because that's where Siri came from. And during that portion, I do a lot of different voices to show people, the different aspects of voiceover and the different things that you can do, different accents, different characters. And then the third part is basically how Siri was a huge life lesson for me. And because the reason I started talking about that is I did a TED Talk years ago, and it had to be inspirational. It had to have something in there that you were going to, inspire other people. And so I decided to talk about fear and why it took me so long to reveal myself as the voice, and the reasoning behind that. But that underlying all of it was just fear, because I'm a fairly introverted person, and I wasn't really interested in fame and just, being out there. So that's what it's basically about. And then depending on, each different company that hires me wants a different length presentation. So it ends up being a Siri appearance, a speaker event, then a Q&A and that sort of thing. So it's fun.
Have you ever walked out on stage as a phone or anything?
As a phone? Not yet, but there's always a first time.
Just to get them laughing, you know what I mean, or whatever.
Yeah.
That's cute.
I got a question for you. Are you psychic at all?
I'm sorry?
Are you psychic?
Intuitive?
Am I psychic? No, I don't know. I know I'm not psychic, but I am pretty intuitive.
Well, I'll tell you why I asked that question, because you took the words right out of our mouth. Is there a reason it took you so long to reveal you were the voice of Siri?
Yes, absolutely, because voiceover is very, very competitive, and we all have to, those of us who do it for a career, have to spend our time auditioning. when I first got into voiceover, it was very different. It wasn't nearly as competitive, and you had an agent, and the agent basically found you jobs, or at least found you auditions, controlled auditions. So maybe you were auditioning against 10 or 20 other people, and now you're auditioning against thousands possibly, because they'll send auditions out everywhere. And oh dear, I just lost my train of thought. What was the original question?
About being, you're a little like I am. I'm a little shy, believe it or not, but when I go on
no, I'm very frazzled now because of this election business. But yes, I was talking about the voiceover business, I guess. And now it's so competitive. And because there are so many different aspects to it, there are narrations, animation, gaming, all kinds of things. And I was able to do a lot of those different things, but I knew that if I revealed myself as the voice of Siri, that I would be immediately typecast. And suddenly everyone would forget what I was able to do. They would just see me as Siri. And so I was really, really concerned about that, because that's not what I wanted to do for the rest of my voiceover career. And the second thing was I wasn't really sure how to deal with the fame thing. And, so I really had to do a lot of thinking and vacillating back and forth as to whether to do it or not. And finally, I guess the stars aligned or something, because I made a decision to reveal myself. And I'm really, really glad I did, because
you took a long time.
Not only did I get some brand new, fabulous agents who have been very, very helpful to me, but I also got a brand new career thanks to Siri. So,
do you think these agents these days are only interested if you're a big name at all, or do they still look for something unique?
That's really hard to say. I think it depends on the size of the agency. And, I know that when I joined Fox in 2013, the owner and co-founder, Wes Stevens, told me, he said, now, don't get really excited. We never would have signed you if you had not been Siri, because we have a lot of female voices, and unfortunately, female voices don't get as much work as male voices. So it's very, very competitive, and it's really hard to say. I think if you're really, really gifted and you've got a great demo and there's room in their roster for you, I think that most good agents are going to take you if you're really good at what you do. So.
Well, I tell you what, the other day I was offered some software which is out in the marketplace. You've probably seen it, heard about it, or come across it yourself. But they're trying to do everything these days, and I think it's the Indians that put this together. But we're talking about artificial intelligence now as voiceovers. Can you believe that? Yeah, I mean, they're getting better and better, but it's still not human. I don't care what anybody says.
No, they're not human.
But you do a beautiful job.
Boy, we're all going to be out of work.
Yeah, well, what else? Automation, artificial intelligence, but I don't think anybody can replace you. You've got a beautiful voice, and you do such a beautiful job.
Thanks.
I think so anyway. I was going to ask you, or Kim was going to ask you, does it bother you, at all when people do come up to you? When you must, well-known voices in the world. If people want to, what were we saying? Oh, you're Siri. You must be. Do you ever get that? I know your voice, or?
No. Only two people in all these years have recognized my voice. One guy was a waiter, and one guy was a banker. And I told them both that they were in the wrong business. They needed to get into audio somewhere. But no, most people don't recognize the voice, and that's because the Siri voice has changed. The one that's on there now is much younger sounding. She's a millennial. And but even when my voice was on the phone, people didn't recognize it, because my speaking voice is higher than what the original Siri was. And the original Siri was down there. Hi, take a left turn. And so, people don't, and also people don't expect to hear the Siri voice coming out of a human.
Right.
So they just don't put it together.
Well, I have to tell you, when you called me back one day and said you would do the show, you should have been a fly on my wall because I about fell off my chair and then I was dancing in my studio. I was so excited. I cannot tell you how excited. You may be the best guest I'll ever have. Just I was so thrilled that you said yes.
Oh,
So
my goodness.
yeah, no, I
Well,
was.
thank you.
I just was so tickled. And so, so what's on the horizon for you, Susan? Anything exciting that you haven't shared with us that you're going to do or coming up, in the next year, considering the pandemic, of course, something after the pandemic.
Well,
I'll get back there.
I think it's going to be really exciting for me just to be able to get back and do the things that I love, like perform live, and both, for events and for the Canyon Ladies and any other thing that my husband and I decide to do musically. I can't say that there's any one particular thing that I'm dying to do. I mean, I did a little bit of theater when I was in high school and college, but when I graduated from college, I decided that I was probably a better singer and player than an actor. So so I kind of went that way in music.
When I first saw a photo of you, you reminded me a little of Julie Andrews.
Oh
my goodness.
That style,
Yeah.
And she's a good-looking
When I was
bird.
younger, I was told I looked a lot like Jamie Lee Curtis, but
Well, there you go. There's yes, I can see that too. Actually, I can see that too. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you'd like to talk about? Share with us. Tell our listeners. What about any exciting? Well, no, that's not the word. What about any adventure that went wrong, or something on a gig, or something, a most unusual story?
Oh yeah, a blooper.
Well, I started using an iPad when I do my speaker events because I used to have a photographic memory, and I pretty much, I don't have trouble memorizing things, but I found that sometimes I'd be on stage and I would get distracted by someone or something, and then my my mind would just go blank.
Oh, God.
And that happened at my very first talk. I got through the rehearsal and everything was perfect, and then I went out on stage, and when I look at the video of it, I can see it. Most people can't see it, but you could just kind of there's this little pause, and it was me going, "Oh, what is next?" So, I just decided I don't like that feeling. So I think I'm just going to keep the iPad there in case I have to refer to it. And that did happen one other time when I was not using an iPad, but it was fortunately for a bunch of female realtors in Florida, and they were just such a great bunch. And I'm standing there, and I had a little, brain disappearance there for a second, and I just said to them, I said, "Oh, where was I? What was I just saying?"
Yeah, right.
And they popped back. "Oh, you were telling us about this such and such." So, yeah.
So
I fortunately haven't had any kind of real disaster, other than memory loss. But yeah, I've been very, very fortunate. I've worked for a bunch of wonderful people, and I really love to be able to travel with the speaker events. Although I will have to say that the virtual events are much easier. I mean, there's certainly, I just have to go in my office and do my event in front of the computer.
Well, I'm going to get you here. I'm going to talk to your agent. I'm going to talk to your people down the road when we people can all hang out together. And I'm going to get you to Tucson because we have a pretty large group of women, and we got our guys too that hang with us because they want to be with the women. But I definitely would love to have you in the future come to Tucson. I mean,
well, that would be terrific. I did an event in Scottsdale.
Okay.
I think, was it last year? I think, yes, it was 2019. So,
yeah.
Well, of course, that's Phoenix, just up the road a little bit, yeah. That's our younger brother, Phoenix, up the road about 2.5. They got 6 million and we got 1.
Yeah, we're better.
Yeah, we're better. So, folks, SusanCBennet.com. That is correct, yes, Susan?
Yes, SusanCBennet.com.
And may I ask what the C is for?
Cameron.
Okay.
My maiden name.
Right, Susan
Yeah.
Cameron. Right, it could be seen
Or
as
you
Siri.
can just Google Voice of Siri, and it'll come up. So.
Yeah, Google the voice of Siri. But www.susancbennet.com is the major website to go to. And there's going to be a lot on the side, on our channel on Tucson Business Radio X. There's going to be your Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff as well. So that'll be good.
Right,
But,
at Seriously Susan is the handle for both Twitter and Instagram.
okay, at Seriously Susan. All right.
Yeah, at Seriously, SIRIOUSLY.
Gotcha.
Get it?
Seriously,
Yuck, yuck.
Susan.
Seriously, seriously.
Yeah, seriously. All right. Well, Susan,
Yeah.
look, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on WUTS.
Thank you.
And both Kim and I wish you the very best for your future.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me on your program, and I hope your audience enjoys it. And yes, I do hope to see you one day.
Yes.
Well, do us a favor in signing off, would you? A small favor for us?
It depends. What is that?
Love you to sign off as Siri for Tucson Business Radio X and Women Under the Sun. How about that?
Well, I got to tell you, I could say something nice about you two individually, but I can't do any kind of promo.
That's
unless you
good.
want to
No,
pay me
yeah, I don't want a
thousands of dollars.
promo.
We'll take what you can give us.
Okay. Okay, let me see if I can channel my original
Okay.
theory.
All
Right.
right.
Kim and Mark, thank you so much for inviting me to your program today. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you, and please do keep talking to me because I love to tell you what to do.
I love it. That was perfect. Thank you so much. How thrilling.
Thank you, Siri. Thank you, Susan
Thank
Bennett.
you.
God bless and
Thank
good.
you.
Take care. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Susan. Bye.
Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Join us again, won't you, on the Business Radio X network for another inspiring Women Under the Sun.